Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Hadro. I'm a baritone saxophonist in New York City, and I also curate the jazzberrysax.com website. I want to share today a new product that I was just sent. This is something they sent me for free. I'm not being paid to review it per se, but they did send it for free. This is a new product. There's something I reviewed similar to it before called the Sax Port, but this one is actually, I think, a little bit more well done and a little bit more interesting. And what it is it's just a sort of an alternative to a neck strap or a harness. This one is made for baritone saxophone or bass saxophone, but I think you could really use it for all saxophones. I'll test that out a little bit later, and also probably bass clarinet, and I'll definitely try it on bass saxophone. It's called ErgoSax. This company, which I think is called ErgoBrass, actually I know of because I think I've seen their system for bass trombone. They have this cool support system for bass trombone that sort of puts the weight so you don't have to hold it. They make lots of different stands. I think they make it for almost all the wind instruments now. And they have one now made for baritone saxophone. And it's pretty interesting. So this is it. When it comes, there's a little bit of assembly, but not too much, honestly. You just kind of screw a few things together. Build quality is really solid. It's not super light, but I like that. It's made out of metal, and I don't think you would have any issues with this breaking. I would trust my horn with it. So what it essentially is it's a telescoping mono stand. So it can go shorter or taller, right? So you've got these easy, you push them with your thumb adjustments. So the biggest one at the bottom is actually does large adjustments. So it's about that much per each it slots into a hole, and you push to release and close it. And the next one up actually does smaller increments. I think they're about half as long. So the distance between the holes on the top one is about this much. I don't know if you can see that. Whereas on the bottom it's about this much. So sort of like large adjustment, smaller adjustment, and then you've got the fine adjustment. Actually, this metal the last bit can actually go up and down to do the fine adjustment. So you've got 3 sizes of adjustment, which really lets you dial in the exact height you want to hold it at. It's got this interesting way of opening. So that clips into your neck strap ring, and it is metal, but I like that they covered it in looks like a hard plastic so that it shouldn't eat through your neck strap ring, because that's a concern on a lot of saxophones, especially assuming that they used a nice hardened metal, so that won't break here to hold your saxophone. The harder the metal here, the ring on your saxophone is probably brass, unless you have an old Conn like me that happens to have a hardened zinc one. But most saxophones have a brass ring, so if you have metal on metal contact, it will eventually eat through your ring, which can be fixed, but you don't want to deal with that. Also, you want to make sure it doesn't break and fall. So how do we use this? I actually found that I don't need the large adjustment, especially for sitting, so I put it up to the first adjustment. And basically I'm going to do this without my harness. Normally I use a harness, I'm using the Van Doorn harness, but this stand, more on that in a second, can be used with a harness, but it's also sort of made to be used without a harness. So again, you clip into there, the stand is on the ground. It's really kind of on the ground, it's made to be it's resting against my right thigh. And that's apparently intentional. It takes a little bit of getting used to. At first I kept wanting to lift my my foot up to sort of hold it, but you really don't need to. You can put your foot on the ground, relax, and it holds the saxophone there. I'm balancing it, so there's a little bit of balance. It is resting on my right thigh. Let's see if I can go a little farther back to show. Again, the foot on the ground has a rubber sort of covering on it, so it shouldn't slip. And it rests on the ground, and you can do it multiple ways. I have it on my right, how I would normally play, with the stand in the middle. No problem playing any of the palm keys or the low notes. And it really kind of, when you stop playing, it rests there. One small critique I would have, or maybe it's just something to get used to, is that when I use a neck strap, or a harness, I guess, the angle, you can almost see it, the mouthpiece, I kind of have to put it off to the side because it wants to go into my mouth. It's already at the right adjustment angle this way. But whereas when I put it on the stand, it's a little bit different, so it just takes a little bit of getting used to. so that you can see the angle of the horn is a little farther forward. It's not automatically coming into my face, so to speak. And that seems to be just kind of how it is. You know, you can adjust a little bit, but really you have to kind of tilt it back a little bit, which is not an issue. I do like how you can actually adjust up and down on this final metal bar, so you can get really, really down to, like, I'd say almost like a couple millimeters, the exact height you want. You can also play this in the middle, so it's designed such that you could put the bar in the middle and play like this. You know, if you want, holds it. Again, it takes a little bit getting used to because I'm not used to that. Now, they do address this. They do add, this piece here is optional. This little piece, you can see this whole thing is screwed. You can take it apart. Actually, when it comes, it actually comes disassembled like this. So you can see this is the end of the metal ring, and it slots on there and screws into place. So when you're assembling it, you have the option to add this little extra bit that you can see has a ring in it that's intended for neck straps. And I like that because it gives you the option of using a neck strap with it. Now, I found, because I use the Van Doorn harness, it has like a curly Q. Another small complaint I have is it's a little hard to get my harness in here. It's not quite far enough open to get it on there. It takes a little bit of doing, so there wouldn't be any quick changes. But I think that's a minor complaint, and also really they actually even recommend having another neck strap ring brazed onto your saxophone so that you could use both. I think that's a little overkill, but I do like the fact that they give you the option to put your neck strap or harness onto the ErgoBrass, the ErgoSax support, so you can really have both options. When I've been using it, I've actually been doing it just because I feel more secure, like I'm less nervous, and maybe after I got used to the stand I wouldn't do it, but what the heck, I'm used to using a harness. I love a harness, and also I find it puts that angle a little bit closer to what I want when I use the harness with it. Just one more point of support. Also, I feel like even if I weren't paying attention because I'm not used to this and moved around and the stand were to fall or something, I still got my harness on. It still holds the saxophone. Again, you probably don't need it, but it's taking all the weight here. So even if you want to wear an extra harness, it's not like it's going to put any weight in your back. It might just be an extra backup safety concern. So obviously, I'm using a low B flat baritone saxophone. This is Conn. It works great with this. I'm going to film and do a bunch of other instruments. I'll show you my bass saxophone, maybe a contrabass clarinet, definitely bass clarinet. I'll go show you my low A baritone saxophone, maybe my other Conn that has split bell keys, so it'll have bell keys on the other side, and show what it looks like. But that's essentially this product, and it's really well done. I think it runs $180-ish. You can go look on the site. It's actually from Europe. So you'd have to buy it and ship it, so you'll check the website. I'll post the website link and everything for the exact price. Obviously shipping is concerned, but really I'm impressed with the craftsmanship. The metal, the machining is really nice. The screws are all actually, the threading is metal, which is important. They're not plastic screws. I really think this would last. This post is it's painted black or covered in a plastic or something, but it is metal, so I like that. It's just really well designed, really well thought out, and I appreciate that. So yeah, I did review a sax support, which was sort of a monopod thing that Velcroed. I was, on the fence about it. It was like, I don't really want to put Velcro on my horn. Wasn't that comfortable. This to me is a similar design, but just better done, which is not surprising because this company, this is what they do. They've come up with support systems for all instruments. I didn't even think they have ones for like flute, clarinet, and oboe, and bassoon, and all that. So really, really cool that they thought of the baritone saxophone and the bass saxophone. I should mention standing up. You can stand up with this. I might use, the larger adjustment for that, and then you can stand up and get the height right. I don't know that it's the kind of thing where you would stand up for a saxophone solely and immediately be able to play. I think it takes a little bit getting used to. Also, if I was a little bit more used to it, I would know exactly which setting to use. Right now, I'm just kind of experimenting to find the right height. So for me, that works. And again, I'm using the harness, but really all the weight is put on the stand here. See if maybe I can show you better how it's. So you could easily stand up and play. Feels comfortable. Again, all the weight is on the stand. I'm using a harness. You really don't have to. I can do it without the harness. And I'd be totally comfortable with it. And when you're done playing, it just kind of hangs there pretty effortlessly. And yeah, so very impressive. ErgoBrass is the company, ErgoSax is the product, and I believe this is the Bari bass variant, so meaning it works with bass saxophone and baritone saxophone. And I should say a few more things. So this is the stand. Obviously, when you're going to transport it, you would probably take this top part out. They did send this cool little carrying case that actually should fit in there. And actually, you could actually put this on if you're using it and you're worried about it like bumping your saxophone or like scratching it. I don't think it would. You put this on. This is like a soft neoprene coverage, so you can actually use it when it's in here too. And this is actually surprisingly really well done little cover. It's got these sort of tightening loops down here and at the top as well. It's got like another stretchy loop to grab. It's got a zipper like this. Even the case, they spent some time figuring out and making nice. And it comes with another little pouch. I would assume this is for keeping maybe the little bits and this. I don't know that it would fit that. But anyways, it could probably easily fit in the bell of the baritone saxophone if you wanted to. A low A bell would obviously have even more room. I keep my harness in my neck strap, or my harness in my mouthpiece and all that stuff. So I probably wouldn't do that, but you could if you got nothing else in your bell. This would easily travel in your bell. It's not the lightest piece of equipment ever, but honestly, it's well made and substantial. I think that's probably more important than saving on the weight and making it a little more flimsy. What else can we say about this? Yeah. Again, I'm just pretty impressed and would recommend it. Again, I don't know that this is something every baritone saxophonist is going to go get and start using immediately. I think this is great for people who want to at home maybe use it. People who have, anybody who has back problems or neck problems, absolutely use this immediately. This really takes all the weight off your back or neck. And I know a lot of people write into the Jazz Bari Sax site looking for something like this. They want to play baritone, but they have back problems or it's too much weight. I think especially for the bass saxophone, this is going to be an option. I'll show you in a minute, me using it with the bass. Also for, if you wanted small kids and they're just like too small, like when I started playing baritone, it was too much weight for me, even with a harness sometimes. But I think this could be an option for kids, assuming they're responsible and, are careful with it a little bit. But yeah, so I'm happy they sent me one. I'm happy they're making this product. I hope it succeeds. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to use it a bit. I'm going to especially use it maybe for the bass sax in the future. And yeah, happy to answer any questions or try anything out. But stay tuned. I'm going to show you what it looks like with a few different instruments. So here it is, the ErgoBrass system with the bass saxophone. It's really hard to see, but it's on there. It's on the back. I'm using my harness just as a backup safety, but it would totally work fine without the harness. I'm finding the same thing I found with baritone is that it's like angled away from me a little bit, so I'm having to push up a little bit, which is not the end of the world. It's still taking the weight, so that's not going to bother my hands or my arms. Again, I think with the harness on it actually, because that I can use that to pull it a little bit toward me. This weight is still on the stand, on the ground, but I'm using my harness just to sort of get the angle right. And it's great. There's no weight. I mean, I use a harness for bass saxophone. It pretty much makes it fine. I can play it, but for practicing at home, I'm probably going to start using this. Not that you often have to stand up with a bass saxophone, but I think you totally could. Actually, I haven't tried it yet, so let's try it together and see what happens. I'm going to raise up the bottom one up. I'm going to go with this next one up, and I'm actually going to take the third adjustment up just a little bit. A little bit more. So the weight is now on the stand. Again, I got my harness on just to make it a little more comfortable, but you can see I can lean the bass saxophone on the stand. down so you can see that a little bit better. Again, all the weight is on the stand. I've got all three adjustments up here a little bit. And when you release, it's just there. It holds the saxophone very easily. So there it is, the bass saxophone with the ErgoBrass Bari bass stand. Let's try some more instruments. I hope you never find yourself in the absurd position of having to play contrabass clarinet standing up. But if you do, turns out this stand is the way to go. You can sort of do it with a harness or a neck strap, but I find the neck strap ring placement on a contrabass clarinet, at least this one's a little long paperclip, it's not great. And I don't have a peg long enough. I mean, I have a peg that works great for sitting down and even high chairs, but standing up, I don't really have a peg. So if I had to stand up with a contrabass clarinet, which I can't say has happened yet and may not, I would use this ErgoBrass Bari bass stand. We're maxed out here. This is the absolute limit of how high the stand will go. I've got the bottom adjustment, the middle adjustment, and the top adjustment pretty much maxed out. Even still, you'd think this would be about as flimsy as it can get, and everything feels pretty stable. There's not a wobbling, there's not a bend, and it makes playing contrabass clarinet fairly simple. So, in the super odd, rare instance that you might need to play contrabass clarinet standing up, here's your solution you didn't know you needed. I don't know that anybody's going to really need this for alto, but just wanted to show you that, yeah, would totally work for alto and tenor. I'm not going to dig my tenor out, but absolutely, if you bought the stand for your baritone or whatever, or anything else, you could definitely use it for tenor. They may actually have a separate one for alto. I should check on that. Maybe I'll write in the title later that'll say that. But definitely the Bari bass one works for alto. I mean, just like it would. I find with alto, I'm more likely to play in the middle with the stand. The leaning on the knee tie thing, a little less weird. I still find the same thing where it wants to tilt the saxophone a little bit forward. I think that's just the nature of the beast. And so for alto, even though you definitely don't need it, I might use a neck strap just to help pull it back and keep it, naturally without having to push forward or anything. Like, heck, if we've got a stand that's taking all the weight and completely making this the most weightless thing ever, like, why let's go all the way and get it tilted right perfectly, so literally you don't have to do anything except wiggle your fingers, but it really wouldn't be an issue if you just had to move it back a little bit. So alto, tenor, I guess soprano. I don't have a soprano. I'm not even going to try it with a soprano. If you need it with a soprano, I'm sure it would work. We could make it work. Okay, looking at the website, they actually have a whole different one for soprano that kind of like goes down to your belt to share you. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, if you want to use this one for soprano, you probably could too. But they've got a different soprano one, and they have a tenor alto one. So there's a tenor alto one, a baritone bass one, and then soprano. That's sort of a separate thing. But just to say, the Bari bass one, if you wanted to shell out the money and get it, could probably use it for everything. As expected, it works just fine with a low A baritone. I'm standing up. Which I would expect because it's probably made for a low A more so. More people tend to have low A's. I actually even find the bouncing maybe a little bad with low A. I mean, it does tend to tilt forward. If I don't push it, this is where it naturally sits. But for some reason with the low A, it's also just sort of resting against my leg. The E flat key is resting against my leg. It worked great sitting down too. If you were to lower it down, pretty easy to go between the two. I might even do a little bit more work to fine tune where I prefer it best with my low A. Let's try one up on the small. I do find this small one is a little bit hard to pull up. And of course, you should probably just take the stand off the horn whenever you're adjusting it. That's a smart and safe one, so I'm going to move the small one up. That's the big one. Small one up one. Yeah, and I've got that thing going where it's resting on my leg, on the inner thigh. Still feel like I'm pushing the bottom of the horn to tilt it backwards towards me. I'm not even using a neck strap this time, so maybe a neck strap would help that. It's also just not that bad to push with your right arm a little bit and play. So low A baritone, no problem. It works great with a bass clarinet. This is a low C bass clarinet, and I'm standing up because if you're sitting low on a bass clarinet, probably use a peg or just rest on the floor. But this stand works great for a bass clarinet standing up. I think it would work for low E flat. It's especially helpful because bass clarinets sometimes only have one neck strap ring, and it may not be where you want to be comfortable. Or even if it has two neck strap rings, you could still use it.